All right, we are live.
Hi, group.
Good morning.
Hi, guys. Good morning.
Hello.
Okay, so this week we're supposed to talk about, let me see, let me pull it up. We're supposed to discuss, now that we have written our leadership book report, you have to do a 5-minute presentation of the book review to your group. Please include highlights of both sections of the book review report, descriptive review, and critical review. So just pretty much write or say what you wrote in your review report.
Okay, who wants to go first?
You, Marie, do you want to go first?
Oh, wait.
Yeah.
Before we start, do you guys want a time, like, on your phone or something? Yeah, just, like, have it on your phone, like, after 5 minutes we can stop or whatever, because, you know.
Okay,
we started at 8:15.
Like each
No, timing the presentations.
Yeah.
Oh.
Okay, I'm starting now. I have the timer going. So I read Pitch Perfect. It's by Bill McGowan. And so it's pretty much, if you're at work or even in your personal life, it's making sure you say the right things and knowing the art of language by communicating effectively, like saying the right things in the right way can be the difference between stealing a deal or losing an account. So it really navigates your conversation and makes sure that you get rid of like all the anxiety and all the questions that are hard, and he kind of like guides you through it. So he guides you through the 7 principles, which are headline, persuasion, pasta sauce, no tailgating, conviction, curiosity, and the Draper, which is all chapters throughout the books. And then he talks about in the first chapter how there's 4 types of poor communications, which is like, first is being the backspace button. So it's like you're talking, you're like, oh wait, never mind. Oh wait, I'm just kidding. Like, you're not supposed to say that. The minute lovers, which are the people who would rather talk about the product and like how they built it than selling it. Like, I did this with the product, I did that, and I did this, instead of being like, this product is for you. And then the cliche champs, like Mick Govern, what is his name? Miss McGovern talks about how cliches are like so dusty and how they're so overused. So like saying the person's name in a conversation over and over and over is kind of almost like mocking, and it's like so old school. And doing like the normal questions that you do in interviews, like no one really wants to hear the things that people are always saying. You want something different, you want something fresh. So he pretty much guides out the whole entire thing by being original. Like, if someone else is doing it, you shouldn't be doing it at all. So the headline principle is just pretty much getting the audience's attention, make sure that you're suspenseful and you're pretty much cutting out like the first like lob of what you're supposed to say and just getting straight to the point. He says that making sure that you give people the time, like you don't have to like talk too much. People would rather just get to the point usually. The Scouse principle is talking about using imagery when you talk. Like an example is, efficiency has gone up 50%. This is as if Michael Phelps is shaving off a whole minute of his swimming the 400 meter. Like, the Michael Phelps part is kind of irrelevant, but it gives you like an image of what the 50% efficiency is. The pasta sauce principle is, when in doubt, cut it out. It's rather best to not say anything and be calm and talk slowly than rush everything out and just blurt a bunch of words. No tailgating means you want to be talking at the speed proportional to the next sentence, meaning that if I'm talking at this speed, I have to make sure that I know what I'm going to say next. So if you're going to talk slow, you have time to say what you're going to say next. Conviction means eye contact, captivation, tone, pretty much showing that you're interested curiosity entails you're excited to be there without saying the word I'm excited. You show that you're interested in the other person by giving them eye contact, by giving them posture, giving them the great posture. Instead of using resting bitch face, which is said in the book, you want to use best friend face, which shows that you want to be happy listening to the person. You don't want to be robotic. You want to be as real as possible. And then the last principle is the Draper, and it's after a Mad Men character. And I don't really get the reference because I didn't watch Mad Men, but it's making sure that you have the conversation in your hands and knowing if the conversation is going in a different way. Making sure that the conversation is going a different way that you want it to, you can change it. Like if you're doing a presentation and someone talks over you, you want to be the person that's able to have the confidence and able to take the reins of your own conversation. So that was my book. It was really cool. He teaches Eli Manning how to do his press conferences. He's actually a really interesting read, and it was easy. 5 minutes.
What's the name of the book again?
Pitch Perfect.
Pitch Perfect.
Yeah.
Kind of like that movie.
Yeah.
I can go next. Hang on, let me time. Okay. So my book is called Great at Work by Morten Hansen, and it was published by Simon & Schuster this year. So the key argument of this book is pretty much tackling how to work smarter, not harder. Our work ethics are good, but what can we do to work less or get more done? Many of us work a lot, but we don't progress in our field. For the most part, many of our questions are answered in this book. In order for you to succeed in this book, he kind of like breaks down what busy work is and how meaningless it is. And he states that some of us tend to work a lot more than we should, and the outcome always continues to be the same. There's no purpose in working a lot without progression or improvement. And it's kind of like anticipated for people like us who are like just finishing off college and we're trying to find like our job and our dream job. So he kind of like starts off by saying like he's just fresh out of college, like I said before, and he just scored a job that he's been trying to make a mark in. When he was starting off, he worked anywhere from 40 to 90 hours a week. And through the course of his for working for this company, he kind of realized that other people around him were performing better than he was and working less hours than he did. He began to wonder about the performance in general, and he kind of questioned himself, like, is it really like a talent thing or a performance thing? So he started to do a little bit of research. He started asking his coworkers questions and trying to see like what he can depict from everyone. There was this one specific coworker that he noticed that she was only working 20 to 30 hours a week, and she was moving up in the company way faster than he did. And he was working, like I said before, 40 to 90 hours. So that's like quite a difference. So to his research, he kind of like started seeing, he looked into like prioritizing, delegating, staying organized and things like that. So he did a performance test where he kind of like asked everyone to see what everyone does to like prioritize, like how they put their work ethic into their job and like seeing how organized they stay. So it kind of brought him to the idea of like working at your best. So he describes that like there's no book out there that really can tell you how to improve yourself or how to perform better. It's something that you kind of need to learn on your own. Overall, the first chapter kind of goes into depth about his research and like how he finds the answers to all his questions. And he interviewed people like his coworkers to get a glimpse of what they thought about working for the company like as a whole. So like I said, overall, like he just explains his research and the surveys and the time that he put into figuring out how to tackle and working less and achieving more. It kind of like breaks down what you really need to gain from your work, your career, your job. It's not just, oh, I'm just gonna stock shelves for the rest of my life. I'm just gonna be a call center. Like when you're at your job, you want to do your best with the less time possible. Does that make sense? So it's kind of like being more productive, and like his book is like very compelling in that matter, and it helps a lot of people in the long run. So in my opinion, so people like us who just graduated college and like working towards our career should read this book to get a better sense of working less and achieving more. And like he really like drills that into you in this book. So he constantly argues about the difference between performance and talent, and sometimes performance doesn't really matter if you're just working longer and the results are mediocre. So I feel like overall this book is kind of like a learning experience for people who are growing as leaders. And as we discussed in our groups, we have to make the right decisions for like a successful outcome. We need to be aware of the odds and whatever we do for the good of everyone and for ourselves even. So I feel like this book kind of really tells you like invest your time and energy into the work that really matters, and you can't just go to work just to be busy. So just major tweaks in your work ethic is what's gonna get you to where you want to be. And whatever field you should be in, it should be progressive and it needs to have meaning rather than just being busy. So that's pretty much it.
I forgot to say I recommend my book too. It's really good.
Barnes and Noble notes.
Go to Barnes and Noble and read it. But good job.
Thanks.
Quit your job and then go to Barnes and Noble and read this book.
No, don't do that.
So I picked up Extreme Ownership. It's about two Navy SEALs in their during their training to be Navy SEALs, and then during the skirmish in Iraq. It's not really a skirmish, but the war in Iraq, where and specifically in Ramadi, which was the most the prominent part of the war. It was just like the biggest part of the war. So there was a lot of death and destruction and then war. So the author of the book is Jocko Willink and Leif Babin, and they go over everything from what they learned in training and the principles they learned in training, and then the principles they learned in the battlefield. And so what I noticed about the majority of the book is they focus a lot on failure. And so we tend to be drawn towards negative behavior and failure than we are towards positive behavior and success. Like, what did you do that made you so successful? I don't know. We just won. Well, what did you do that made you so successful? Well, we lost a lot, but then we learned so much and then we won. So the book starts with their first skirmish where they kind of lose communication. They stop communicating, and they start shooting at each other, which is like, it is probably the worst thing you could ever do is shoot it, have friendly fire. And they call it blue on blue. And then, so this is such a huge failure that they should have just let the guys go. But instead, the Extreme Ownership, they took complete ownership. Oh, well, we stopped communicating, and we didn't know. So in the future, this is what we're going to do to make sure that doesn't happen again. And that's what happened in the field. So luckily nobody died, but here they are firing at each other, and they're both equally good. And so what they could learn, how they applied that in business, is just being able to communicate with each other, and not ever leaving anyone in the dark as to, what's going on, what's the mission, what's the plan, and then they go into other missions and like during the training when the the soldiers are carrying the seal boat over their head, and it's this big, heavy rubber boat, and they, to put it briefly, they switch leaders around and find that some of the teams are succeeding because of the leaders. It's not just because of a joint effort. It's because the leaders that when they switch the teams, they understand that they have to kind of break down the mission or the goals into smaller goals so that maybe the subordinates will understand them better. And it's just jam-packed full of stuff. Also, when you have a leader, it's not like there should be an open door policy. You should be able to question that person without fear of retaliation or being fired. You should be able to sustain your success because you follow these principles. And it even goes into a dichotomy of leadership, like, how you can really move forward in your professional life. That's near the end of the book, but they kind of give some points like you must lead, but also be ready to follow. And then I can't find it in the book. Without reading the book again or the text, the text mentioned that you have to have followers in order to lead, and this book said you must have followers in order to lead. So they're kind of right in line, and you can't be aggressive or overbearing. You can't be intimidated or robotic or cocky. You have to be confident. You got to be brave, but you can't be a fool. And you have to have a competitive spirit, but it's just the spirit. You're more working towards cooperation and collaboration. You want people to work with you. And this is all covered in the book. A couple of things that I disagree with, not from the book, from the extreme ownership, but from the text, is that it says, let me find it here. I'm going to read it exactly from the book. Anyway, it says leaders can never take responsibility for what their followers do. And that's the opposite in extreme ownership. And basically, you take full responsibility. And when your subordinate messes up, it's not because they messed up. It's because you messed up maybe communicating the mission or the goals. It just wasn't clear enough for them. Another thing that it's right in line with is with the textbook is simplicity. So when it's just kind of break down the goals in the text, and then also in extreme ownership, it says to make it so simple that they can't fail. And a lot of times you read somebody's mission statement when you go online, and you're just like, wow, it's a whole paragraph. And how can you follow that when it should be just a few words as a mission statement? And the same thing with a goal. If you have a goal and it's 3 pages and you're trying to remember it, or you want other people to remember it, it's too much. So simplify. The textbook covers that as well. And then another part I disagree with the book is when you're getting ready to fire someone, that there's kind of a rite of degradation. So people begin to badmouth them and talk poorly of them before they let them go. And which in extreme ownership, that's not the case. You own the fact that they're performing poorly, and you lift them up, you train them, and you get them right in line with the mission. And so I kind of don't like that part of the book where that's in chapter 8. And so they don't conflict as much. They're actually almost spot on with each other. So it's almost like a complementary book to the whole program. So this is why I'd recommend the book. And a lot of us don't take ownership. So like if you see, let's give a prime example is President Trump. Okay, so pretty soon Trump's going to have to admit something or just completely avoid any sort of responsibility and throw somebody under the bus. You've heard that before, like, oh, they did it. Well, no, I'm responsible for, maybe these emails or, the stuff I said online, the stuff I said in public that was recorded and I didn't know. He has to take ownership over that. And then maybe then we can actually trust him as a leader for our country. Maybe. I recommend the book. I just I don't think that that you guys can. I think that you could learn so much from just even the first chapter, and then fail fast, and then learn from your mistakes, reflect, and this is what it's helped me do, and this is going to help me, especially the text, and then making sure that there's a connection between this text and the book. I mean, it's just an awesome book. And what's amazing too is I told the author that I was doing a review on his book, and so we're like connected on LinkedIn now. So he wants to see the review, which is a lot of pressure, but pretty interesting.
Cool. What's the name of the author?
Jocko Willink and Leif Babin.
That's cool. He responded to you.
What's that?
That's cool. He responded to you.
Oh yeah, really cool.
Definitely.
Well, good job too. It seems like you really liked the book.
Oh, I loved it.
Right. Okay, I'm gonna start my timer right now. Okay, so my book is called Dying for a Paycheck, and it's How Modern Management Harms Employee Health and Company Performance and What We Can Do About It by Jeffrey Pfeffer, I believe. And it was published by HarperCollins on March 20th, 2018. And the genre it's under is business and economics. So I chose this book because I think it like really pertains to like the current state of our economy and the way that like businesses and corporations are overworking their employees, who are like barely making enough to sustain themselves. And basically it's like really reiterating on the fact that like we are like working ourselves to death. I like picked it because I don't know if you guys are like aware of like the Jeff Bezos thing, the owner of or the CEO of Amazon, how like a lot of people are coming forward about his employees and stuff. And I like really looked into that, and this book like goes hand in hand with that. So basically the author talks about how like poor people are continuing to just get poorer, or not even poor people. This is like working class individuals who are like now being considered poor. And he like basically like sheds light on how they're working so hard constantly to like get this paycheck, dying for the paycheck. And they have like, they're getting back problems or stress, and, stress is related to different diseases. And because they're working so hard, they can never, go see, get medical attention or, take care of the problem. And then by the time they save up the money or they have the money to go and, fix their ailments, the problem or their like health problem has already not succeeded, but has already like gotten so big and so severe that it's costing them even more money than they would have to fix it when, they were first having the symptoms and stuff. So it's like basically just like this vicious cycle of people basically like trying to always play catch up. So he's talking about how stress is killing people, so basically the book is like really big on ethos. It's filled with a lot of information. Like there's a huge volume of information and statistics and researchers. He looks at like multiple companies, like big name companies, and like looks into like their history, their employees, and like how much people are being paid, and how the employees have described the workplace environment. so on and so forth, their health problems, their psychological, their like mindset and stuff, like their psychological health and emotional health, mental health, stuff like that. So he's basically speaking up on the social injustices that are affecting the workers, and like how high pressure and high pressure from the companies are creating negative health consequences. And the goal of this book is for companies to encourage human sustainability and put an emphasis on the well-being of their employees instead of focusing so much on the profit. And he's basically saying, you know, if you take care of your employees, you're okay. I can hear myself. Can you guys? I can like hear myself repeating the words. Is my like stuff messed up? Can you guys hear me?
You were breaking up there.
Okay.
It just went for that 1 second. You started echoing.
Yeah. Oh, okay. Okay, yeah, I can't hear anymore. I was like talking and it was repeating the words back to me. That's the worst. Okay, so what's the last thing you guys heard?
Like literally the last thing you just said. Like,
okay.
Yeah.
So yeah, basically wants to put an emphasis on the well-being of their employees. If you take care of your employees and they're not sick, they're not so stressed out to where they're getting sick later on, just altogether it's going to be an improvement for the companies, like insurance wise, and just saying like, you know, kind of take care of the problem right now to avoid even bigger problems in the future. He offers a like simple five-step path that applies to human sustainability. I'll like vaguely go over them. So basically he wants like companies to measure the health and well-being the same way as environmental pollution and impact, because he does believe it's like that important. He wants to call out social polluters, so basically people who are allowing toxic practices in the workplace and force them to change. He wants to develop social policies that that like just help the well-being of the workers basically, and like kind of reprimand companies if they don't follow through. And he wants people as a whole to anticipate excuses that the companies might have, and like instead of just like saying you guys just need to take care of this, like he wants them to be pretty much not punished but like
held accountable.
Yeah, exactly. Thank you so much. And what's the last one? Yeah, he wants like organizational leaders to prioritize this issue instead of just kind of sweeping it under the rug. So I would really recommend this book if you are kind of into that, like, you know, champion of the people stuff, which I like very much so am. I would say that the people who would need to read this book would be like the companies, you know, like the CEOs and stuff. I don't really think that they would take the time to, but another like hands who I think it would fall into that'd be the most beneficial would be like, you know, political leaders and like senators who actually would have the jurisdiction to, you know, make laws that would prevent these companies from overworking their employees and would like be able to cause change. So I would really recommend that book. I'm at 6 minutes. I would really recommend the book, and I liked it, and I thought it was like really powerful. And I can't believe like how bad things are for some people. And it's just crazy because you think that it's like only like the lower class, but this is like an epidemic where it's affecting, you know, like everybody, middle class, people who are making $80,000 and like, you know, and up. So yeah, I thought it was a really good book.
You know, it's interesting, Kaylee, you read that book because it just kind of reminds me of some of my experiences when I was out in the field. And it is also true that I don't know what it is that makes everyone believe like the culture, the mission, and that they would be willing to sacrifice their health to achieve it. But I do remember one of the gentlemen I worked with, we worked outside. I mean, we were always out in the heat, always out in the sun. In Arizona, it gets up to 120 degrees. And then on top of that, you're not just standing outside, you're working, you're like digging, it was a construction. So I remember watching this guy, and I was looking at him, and he was kind of walking around funny and then kind of looked foggy. And then he fainted, but I was able to catch him. And so I drug him into the shade, and then luckily we're at a house. So the person's house that we were at, I was just like, go get ice, and we packed between his legs ice in his armpits and his neck, on everywhere that we could. There was major artery, and then he came back, and so the not the hospital, but the ambulance came, and ended up it was just a residual of him being out in the heat. He just couldn't have that position anymore where he worked in the heat. So he was grateful that I saved him from maybe cracking his head open, because it was in the street that he fainted
on concrete and everything.
Yeah. So I mean, this type of behavior is common, and I don't know if it's fear or if it's they so believe in the mission that they're just going to sacrifice everything. And I've done it too. Like, oh, it's just a cut, and I don't want to have to go do the P test and go through this whole procedure or therapy or anything. I'm just going to live with it.
Mm-hmm.
And so that's so true. And then so I do think that a lot of it has to do with fear, like maybe their marketability if they don't have the education. And so that's why this is so important, this class and your degree, and then having the education so you can be marketable, so you can challenge that maybe what other people view their job as. Like, it's so important that I can't lose this job because then I'll have nothing. Well, why don't you try to go back to school? And so Cindy, yours too. It sounds very similar. Your book on Great at Work sounds very similar to Simon Sinek's The Practicing Mind. If you've ever read that one, he talks a lot about focus, and it's so true. One of the things he did was he did a study on other corporations where he went to Japan, where they make pianos, and he said that we build pianos here in the U.S. Through an assembly line, just like the vehicle, the cars and stuff, and we just toss them out. And so the pianos get cast. It's like a cast iron harp. If you guys know what a harp looks like, that is actually what is laid down inside a piano, and then the box, and then the way the acoustics and everything are set up. So when we do it here in the U.S., it's just a casting, and then we knock off a couple of the rough edges on the casting, and we put the piano wire inside the harp, and then then we put it in the box, and then we go. So they look nice. I mean, don't get me wrong, but when they studied this, I think it was Yamaha that they studied. It was the culture was completely different. I mean, they weren't like, oh, I need to get this one done so I could work on the next. The culture was, I need to get this one as perfect, just perfect, okay? And then so he said, where's your supervisor? Doesn't he have a quota for you to by the end of the day or by the end of the week, doesn't he have a quota? And he's like, what's a quota? What's a supervisor? He says, I know what my job is, and this is what I do. So what he would do is he would be just so caught up and mindful of what he was doing that he forgets about all others. And they are actually more efficient once they figure out that, this is exactly what they have to do. So I'm sorry to go overboard on that, but I mean, it just brought that book back to mind, and it's so true. We do run around and do nothing. I used to watch my supervisor walk around the office, and he would literally go like this to posters and then kind of walk around, and then he'd go like this, and he'd walk around some more. And then when I would walk in, I'd just look at him for like 10 minutes. And I'd be like, what is this guy doing? He's really not doing anything. And then I'd walk up to him and I'd tap him on the shoulder and like, hey, what's going on? What's next? What do we do? And he's like, and then he would act like he was busy and go through the papers and stuff. It was ridiculous. So, and then Marie, your book is right in line. They must have Winston Churchill as their mentor, or at least one of the persons that they really enjoy reading about. because oratory skills are, you know, Winston Churchill's like what he's famous for.
Yes. Sorry, it's loud.
Okay, so real quick. So it says at the end we're supposed to where did it go?
At the end, we're supposed to pretty much conclude and
The key differences and similarities in the books.
mhm.
Who thought? I'm trying to think. I think your book was like similar to mine, somewhat.
Yeah, I think so too.
Yeah, like I thought ours was very similar. It was kind of like looking. It's like kind of shedding light on like the same stuff.
Mhm. They're both business books.
Yeah. I'm like, okay. What time is it there for you guys?
It's like 8:51.
Yeah, me too.
Yeah.
It's 11 here.
Where are you?
I'm in New Jersey.
Oh, gross.
Yeah.
So you live in New Jersey?
Well, now I am. This is my last class, guys. I'm about to take the test, and then it's going to be done for school for me.
Same.
Congratulations.
Good job.
Yeah, I live like right outside New York. I live like 20 minutes outside New York, so I go in the city a lot. Excited to start looking for a job. This course has definitely helped me.
Your eyebrows look so good.
Oh, thank you. I'm so ready with my eyebrows for the workforce. Yeah, I really actually like this class. I thought it was a good class to end with, just because it involved other people. You know, online classes, as much as a hassle it is to get online with you guys and get on video, it's kind of fun to talk to people as well. So I enjoyed this class a lot.
This was a good group.
We're supposed to do a wrap up of what we think and say goodbye to each other, as I said in the last part.
Say goodbye.
That's nuts.
Class, it was good. I definitely think for like I'm a communication major. Wait, we all are, right? Yeah.
What?
That's it. Everyone's a communication major, right?
Yeah.
Oh, I thought you had
management major.
Oh, okay. Well, for comm students, I think that this should be like a mandatory one. For sure. I think it's like a really good class and something that should be like mandatory, because I think it would help like benefit a lot of people, especially those in communication who want to take like an entrepreneurial route. I think it's like really good.
Yeah.
But I like the aspect that it's online too. So like I don't think a lot of people take online classes, but I like how you have to do the video calls and be leaders through video. So I think that's cool too. But yeah, I agree. It should be definitely mandatory.
Yes. I agree.
Do you play Pokemon?
Your plans after the class?
I'm gonna move to Atlanta.
Why?
I don't know. I just need something new. I've been in California my whole life, and I like have always loved the South, and I just like really want to switch it up.
I'm so busy. I have so many connections out here in Arizona. I can't. I'm scared.
Yeah, see, I just got so tired. I'm not tired of it. Like, I think it is so much fun. I had the best time ever there, but I just like have capitalized on everything I could possibly, like, you know, I just like that place is like I could go there and do whatever, whenever. So I like having that comfort of it. And same thing with California. So I'm like, I need to make another place like a city in mind. So I'm just gonna go to Atlanta. I'm excited.
That's really cool of you.
Atlanta?
Yeah, I'm gonna go back to school there to get my nursing degree.
Awesome.
Yeah, I'm excited.
It's a beautiful, beautiful state. And then there's the city is amazing. So
I'm so excited.
yeah, and it's funny too because you walk downtown here in downtown Phoenix, and you see some things that are interesting, but then downtown Atlanta is just It's insane to see what people wear, and some of them just don't care. I mean, they
I
just
belong there.
it's like Vegas almost.
We get along. Yeah, I'm really excited. I can't wait for the food. Just like I love Southern hospitality. I like the way they talk. I like the way they walk. I like everything about the South. So I'm excited.
Go with you.
We have a good old time.
I know, seriously. That sounds like so much fun. I want to go to Thailand and like help kids like learn English and stuff. I want to go save the world, like go play games or something.
Amazing.
Yeah, I want to go save the world.
Go save the world.
Okay, Eric, what are you gonna do?
I'm actually gonna ramp up my business and start helping more people. And so in chapter 13, I was reading about the you know what happened in Louisiana when the levees broke, and was it Louisiana?
Yeah.
New Orleans, yeah. So I was watching. I couldn't find that video online that they were talking about in the chapter, but I watched another one, and it made me really think about how fortunate and how blessed I am to have what I have, like these material possessions and the money and the education, and then these people here in New Orleans. I think it said something staggering, like 10% of them have actually been able to come back to New Orleans, and then the rest remain in poverty, and then they're just spread across the U.S. Who knows where they're at, and then they're not able to return because the state or New Orleans, the government gave investors this property, and then they were able to develop it, and then now they're selling it for more. And then so what you see in the movie, it was recorded by Spike Lee. You see like white people being served by black people, and then New Orleans was majority black community, and it's just really sad to see that some of them also are working for $6 an hour on a temp service for just a few hours a day. The people that were actually living there and enjoying their life before the levees broke. And so I think part of my organization, some of my goals, maybe rebuilding some of those areas, but then not rebuilding them to where they're out of reach for somebody who's in poverty. Maybe rebuilding them with the government and people who are at a disadvantage. Maybe mentoring some kids into success. Starting at the high school level, maybe, because I've done that before with the Boy Scouts, and then also I'm gonna start buying up some property here in South Phoenix and do upgrading it. So
passive income.
Amazing. New Orleans is one of my favorite cities. It's the people there are so great. The culture and New Orleans.
Oh, I thought you said Phoenix. I'm like,
no. Oh my God, no. New Orleans, it's so fun. They're so awesome. I love it. And yeah, it is. It's like so devastating. One of my ex-boyfriend, he was from there, born and raised, and he was saying how like he literally like watched like his like he came back and it was complete devastation. Like his dogs floated away, they died. Like he said, there was literally bodies everywhere, and like things haven't been the same since. So that's huge.
That's so sad.
I almost cried. You said that.
You said the dogs floated away.
Literally, like they because you can't like they couldn't like have them chained up, because I was like, well, why couldn't you? And like the water and everything was just so powerful that they could barely even get themselves on the roof. So like the dogs just couldn't make it, and like there's just too much water coming in so fast. I know he had like 2 Rottweilers. So sad. I know we leave the class crying. Everyone's like,
yeah, that's just dark.
Yeah, it is crazy, but it's a really good city, so you should go.
Oh my gosh.
Cool.
I had to take my dad to the groomers today.
if you like, do you like war stuff? They have like a really great like war, like aviation museum.
Oh wow.
Yeah, it's really cool. It was really, really cool.
I thought you were asking all of us. I'm like, no, war is terrible.
That was shit for Eric.
War as hell.
Okay, well, you guys, thanks for being so awesome.
Yeah, guys, what a group. I stand.
Yeah.
Comp 30 forever.
What does the I stand for? Like, what is that? I don't get it. I still don't get it.
It's like a super fan or something.
So it's like you're like a super fan of something. So you're like,
yeah, like you're a fan for life. Like you love this for life.
Anyways.
Oh my gosh.
All right.
Okay. Bye, you guys.
Have a good life, guys.
Have a good life.
Keep in touch.
Hope all your dreams come true.
Okay, bye.
Add me on Snapchat.
Bye.
Bye.